Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. I have a secret. I am a notoriously bad plant mother. But lately, with the exception of this guy in the front, I've been pretty good about it. We're on a watering schedule. I'm bathing them fairly often. My plants are looking so much happier. The problem though is I'm going traveling for a few weeks and I'm worried about my plants. So I don't know if you've ever heard about these things. They're called ollas or ollas or...
Ollas.
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 They're made out of clay, so let's make some to try and save my plants. I'm going to be using red stoneware glaze for this project, and just like with my air conditioner project, I'm going to under fire the clay so it stays porous. This clay is very hard. So I was sketching ideas for how to actually make this. They make these in all shapes and sizes, but I decided to go for this shape because it has a large reservoir so it can hold a lot of water, but the part sticking into the soil is quite narrow so it doesn't take up a lot of root space. Tricky because I really have to bulb out the bottom and then collar this all in again. I don't know how else to do it. Okay, I feel like this is right. It's kind of cute. It's obviously upside down, right? There's no other way to make it. I just had a realization. They're not supposed to be open at the bottom. Why did I think they were supposed to be open at the bottom? Of course not, because then they will just drain? I don't understand like the physics of the water flow, but I'm pretty sure since they're porous, they don't even need to be open at the bottom. So maybe I can reattach them to the wheel, but at least I realized it. Only 2 in, because I can very easily just close this guy. Ta-da! Okay, crisis averted. Okay, I'm gonna try and reattach this guy to the wheel, the one that has the hole. Oh my God. My dog is seriously barking, hang on. Okay. I don't know if any of you guys have tips for, like, I don't wanna wait until it's leather hard because the clay, it won't move in that way. I'm hoping because I'm just going to be moving the very tippity-toppity, it won't put too much pressure on the base and throw it off. Otherwise I have to smash it, so I might as well try. Easy peasy, no problem. Oh, no, there is a problem. It's starting to torque. He's got a little wiggle to him now. Got my little audience back here. They're cheering me on. So these are all done. I do need to let them dry out before I do anything else, but I'm not done throwing for today because I am going to make some quick lids. Because you can see in the picture that we're basing our project on, there's a little lid. So I'm gonna throw some quick lids. And then these guys do need to get flipped before I trim the bottoms. I'm going to trim them as round as I can and then of course cut the hole out for the lid. So I need some sort of chuck, or maybe I'll just put them on plaster. I don't know, I'll think about that once I'm done with the lids. So let's make some lids. Oh. I'm just gonna make little tiny saucer type things. So I don't need that much clay. Most of it's gonna get trimmed off. It's freaking me out. These are all like exactly 200 grams. Oh, I'm getting so good. That's wild. I'm just gonna make a really simple, small lid. You could just make a lid out of like a round piece of slab. The reason I'm throwing it is because thrown pieces just look differently than hand-built pieces. Like, neither is better than the other, but since it's part of the same piece, I want them to look the same. I'm going to make them in the style of, I had a girl from Japan visit me once in my studio, and Mariko is her name, and she taught me how to make Japanese teapots, which was so cool. She was insanely good. And this is how she would make the lids. I think she used only 150 grams, which is probably what I should have done here. This is a bit big. She would make them basically on this little pedestal. This is all gonna get trimmed off, or you can trim it into like a knob. And then you're just gonna throw like the most tiniest little, daintiest little bowl, and that's gonna turn into your lid. And it should just have a very slight curve. Something like this. That's what she taught me anyway. And I've never been able to do it as good as she has. And this is way too big. Like, this is 2 centimeters too large, but I can always trim it down. So you can see it's like, this is all gonna get trimmed off here. And it's just gonna be this little bowl. It makes it really easy, much easier to handle when you do it that way. Ollas are done, lids are done. I'm starting to lose my light, so I'll see you tomorrow. Let's take a little break to talk about today's sponsor, Squarespace. If you've never heard about Squarespace before, they are an all-in-one website platform that artists and entrepreneurs use to stand out online. I've personally been using Squarespace pretty much ever since I started my online business, and I'm still using them for my website today. There are a few things that I love about Squarespace, one of which is their online store, where you can sell physical goods, online classes, services, and even memberships. 2, they just launched a really cool AI feature called Squarespace Blueprint that makes setting up your website, tailoring your brand, and optimizing for SEO even easier. And 3, once you have that store set up, Squarespace offers really flexible payment options. So your customers can have a seamless ordering experience using PayPal, credit cards, Apple Pay, or even Afterpay. So if you're looking to take selling your pottery to the next level, or you're just looking for an online home for your art, I really recommend Squarespace because they make creating a beautiful website really easy. So head to squarespace.com right now for your free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/potterytothepeople for 10% off your very first website or domain. Now let's get back to the video. Good morning. So last night I came down once these were a little bit more dry and I transferred them. These are on a plaster bat, which will hopefully pull out some water from the bottom. It definitely worked. But these are still quite wet. So we're gonna have to trim them. Hopefully it's gonna be okay. I might have to do it in 2 steps if they're too wet. Let's see. And then these guys, I just went ahead and flipped. The problem with these though is before I can finish these, I need to finish these because this is going to determine the size of the lid. That's just how it works. So I am going to need to throw a chuck for them to fit in. You're gonna see in a minute, but the chuck's gonna help support it like this because obviously this can't stand. So, and then for making a chuck, you need to make sure you are using the same clay because the clay can get onto your piece. So to make a chuck, you just want to start as if you're just throwing a pot. So center some clay. I'm guessing this is about 600 grams. Then I'm gonna flare it out. You don't wanna make it too thin, of course, because this is going to be supporting your pot. So, I'm going to hit it with a heat gun. basically it's leather hard now, so it should hold the weight. So if you stick two leather hard things together without scoring or adding any slip or anything like that, they should be able to come apart. Hopefully. This is the idea. So let's give it a try with this first one. My chuck is not perfectly centered, which if I was not lazy, I would remake it, but it's fine. So I want to make this pretty round. That's the goal shape. We got a lot to remove here. And as I said, I might need to go back and do a second round because it's quite wet, but there's a lot of clay here, so removing all this extra clay will also help it to dry. So let's cut this hole. Hear that? There's air under pressure because of the shrinkage. I'm going to try and add the gallery now, even though it's still so wet. This is the trickiest part, and it's not ideal that it's this wet. Oh God, oh God. See, that's what happens. Okay, we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait. Okay, I'm just gonna trim them and make the hole, and then I can go ahead and add the gallery later. What I really should have done is made the chuck yesterday so that it would be leather hard today, but I didn't think. This is just about removing clay right now. It's fine if it's a little messed up looking. I can fix it all when it's drier. I need to remove clay now though so it can dry. Like, look how thick this clay is. I mean, I should have thrown thinner. I know. I should have thrown thinner, but I didn't. This chuck is going crazy. I made a new chuck. I had some lunch. Let's finish these babies. Look how freaking cute. Little button lid. I'm obsessed. You saw me finish these guys yesterday and I thought I was done. But last night I was thinking about them and I realized I needed to change one thing. So the issue is this thick bit of clay right here. I've made lids before that carve this little piece out, and I think that looks really lovely. I don't know, for this one, just aesthetically, I wanted it to look like just a little flat button. So I didn't want to carve this out, but I'm quite worried right now about the differences in clay thickness. I think if I leave it like it is right now, I'm going to get a crack right here. You can see here how thick this little knob clay is. Like the clay starts from here and ends here. It's about 1.5 centimeters of thickness versus this is about 0.5 centimeter max. It means there's going to be different pressures on it due to the shrinkage of when it dries. And I have a feeling it's gonna crack. Because I wanna keep this nice and flat here, I'm just gonna trim out a little divot on the underside to make everything more or less the same thickness and give this a better chance of survival. So this is what I want to do today. Just a quick little fix. Okay, I'm going to let them dry now. So for drying, I think I'm gonna go like this. I'm just gonna let them dry separately from one another. There's a little bit of a risk that they warp differently as they're drying. I'm hoping for no warping. If they warp differently, then the lids won't fit anymore. But I'm thinking about when I fire them like this. Because typically when you're firing things that fit together, you want them to be together while you're firing. In case of any warping, then they'll warp together. I'll think about it and I'll catch you guys during the firing. Looking a bit better. I bathed him. Yeah, let's get the ollas. Okay. By the way, this is the last time I'm carrying all these plants up and down my stairs from my apartment to my studio. The things you do for YouTube. Okay. Cute. I think these are so adorable. Like, do we want him out in the front? Okay, that's kind of cute. And I guess the reason they have the lids, I think that's pretty cute. I feel like I'm not a plant person. I mean, I'm not a plant expert, let's say, but I feel like the most effective way to do this would be to do it when the plant is quite young, because then the roots can get wrapped around the olla. The olla? Oh, I still can't remember what it's called.
Ollas.
These are like too big for some of my plants, I'm thinking. Mr. Rubber Tree. Shall I tell you the story about this rubber tree? This is the most resilient plant I've ever had. I found this plant next to a garbage can, like it was garbage. And he was super, super tall. He was like maybe 3 times the height of this, but he had none of these lower leaves. He just had like a little bit of leaves on the top. He was clearly kept in somewhere where he wasn't getting enough light. And he lived in our apartment for a really long time in Berlin, got huge. But clearly he's gotten a little bit smaller now. And that's because when we moved here, it's a pretty long distance. It's like more like 9 hours drive. And the movers put him in the back of the truck and it was like an overnight move. So and this was in March. So he froze overnight. He almost completely died and lost like 2/3 of his height. So eventually I just snipped it, and then he started to fill out at the bottom here. He was never so full on the bottom. So this guy is super incredible, a super incredible plant, and definitely a very sentimental one as well. I think he'll survive my 2 weeks absence if he survived that. Cute. I love their stupid little button lids. It's very silly. Okay, I've definitely learned that one can make them smaller for these smaller plants. These are just not gonna fit. Well, that's it for this project. Please pray for my plants while I'm gone. If you're wondering where I'm going, my whole family is coming to have a little party here, a little family reunion. And then after that, I'm going to go with my family to Lake Constance. Then I'll travel around Switzerland a little bit with my mom, which is fun because I've never been to Switzerland. I don't really travel that much. There might be a little bit of a gap in my videos, but hopefully not too much. And I'll see you when I get back. Bye, friends.